You can also have a look at the rubric of how I am awarding the marks. And here, just giving you some hint, this case study has, I think, a few scenarios of many-to-many relationships. Many-to-many. I'm not specifying the constraints here. If I specify only the cardinalities, there are cases, once you identify the entities in your case study, there are certain scenarios where you have many-to-many instances. When you have many-to-many instances, you cannot leave this way in your ERD. You should always introduce what? Yes, we call it, what do we call that, the name of that entity? Yes, junction table or associative entity. In the context of ERDs, we call it associative entity, but in the context of databases, you call it junction table. So instead of this, you can make a note if you forget how to map. I'm not going to explain how we derive this because I did it many times. But let's say you have a diagram like this. You have to convert this into this format. You have, this is the entity A, B, A, B. You introduce this associative entity, and this one, mandatory many, it changes into, and on this side, it's mandatory one. So when you have this kind of scenario, you have to convert this into this. I hope it's clean. You can't have this kind of line with mandatory many on both sides. You have to translate this into this format where you have a new entity, and on the each side it's exactly one or mandatory one, and in the middle you have a mandatory many or at least one symbol. And if you like, for the name of this entity, like depending on the context, you can come up with a name that is meaningful. For example, if this is student, if this is course, the name can be enrollment or something. But if you still can't think of a better name, if you're too confused, then just go ahead combining the names, student, course or something. But if you can come up with a meaningful name, go ahead with that meaningful name. Some cases you might end up like not coming up with a good name. Then just combine these two names and give it a new name. But make sure that you have the associative entity in place. And you have several, I think 2 associative entities for the case study. And if you can see the rubric, if you don't specify them, you are losing marks. So make sure you have the associative